Hana stepped off the transport ship and felt the heat hit her face immediately. Vexar Prime was hot, much hotter than Earth. The red sun hung in the purple sky like an angry eye. She pulled her bag over her shoulder and walked toward the massive stone building ahead. The Stellar Coalition Training Academy looked more like a fortress than a school. She was nervous. Humans had only joined the Coalition 3 years ago. Most aliens still did not trust them. They called Earth a death world, and humans aggressive primitives. Hana hoped to change their minds at least a little bit. A tall figure waited at the entrance. It was a Vryn standing nearly 8 feet tall. Its scales were dark green with scars running across its chest and arms. Yellow eyes watched her approach without blinking. "You are the human," the Vryn said. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "I am Training Master Krell, you will observe. You will not speak. You will not interfere." Hana nodded. "I understand. Thank you for allowing me to be here." Krell made a sound that might have been a laugh. "I did not allow it. The council ordered it. Humans are soft. You will not like what you see." The training master turned and walked inside. Hana followed quickly. The interior was cold stone and metal. Young Vryn moved through the hallways in perfect lines. They were small, maybe 4 or 5 years old in human terms, but they walked like soldiers. Their faces showed no emotion. No one talked. No one played. Krell led her to a viewing platform above a large training arena. Other observers were already there. A chit, an insect-like creature with too many legs, stood on one side. Illumini, made of living crystal that glowed softly, floated on the other. They both looked at Hana but said nothing. "Watch," Krell commanded. Below, 30 young Vryn entered the arena. They lined up in perfect rows. An instructor barked commands in their harsh language. The cubs responded instantly, moving as one unit. They began running an obstacle course that looked dangerous even for adults. Hana watched as the small creatures climbed walls with sharp edges, jumped across gaps that seemed too wide, and crawled under barriers covered in thorns. Some cubs moved quickly. Others struggled. But none of them cried out. None of them asked for help. "This is how we make warriors," Krell said with pride in his voice. "The weak are identified early. They are removed from the pack. Only the strong continue." 3 cubs fell behind the others. One was tiny, even for a Vryn cub. She had bright blue markings on her scales. She kept trying to climb a wall but kept sliding down. The other 2 cubs, slightly larger but still struggling, tried to help her. An instructor screamed at them. They backed away from each other immediately. Hana's hands gripped the railing. She wanted to say something but remembered Krell's warning. This was not her world. These were not her people. But watching small children push so hard made her chest hurt. The exercise continued for 2 hours. By the end, most cubs had completed the course. But 3 had not. The tiny, blue-marked female and 2 others stood in the center of the arena, heads down. The instructor circled them like a predator. "Failures," the instructor announced. "These cubs are weak. They will be isolated for remedial training." The 3 cubs were led away to a different door. The rest of the pack did not look at them. The successful cubs were given water and raw meat as rewards. Then they were marched out of the arena. "That is enough for today," Krell said. "You may go." Hana did not move immediately. "What happens to the ones who fail?" Krell's eyes narrowed. "They are separated. They train alone until they become strong or until they are removed from warrior training completely. It is shameful but necessary." "They are just children," Hana said quietly. "They are future warriors," Krell corrected. "Or they are nothing. There is no middle path." He walked away, his heavy footsteps echoing in the stone corridor. Hana stood alone on the viewing platform for a moment. The other observers had already left. Below, the arena was empty. She thought about those 3 small cubs being taken away. She thought about the fear she had seen in their yellow eyes, even though they tried to hide it. She left the platform and walked through the hallways, trying to remember the way back to the visitors' quarters. The building was like a maze. She turned a corner and found herself in a different section. The walls here had small windows made of thick, transparent material. She heard sounds coming from behind one of the windows. Soft chirping noises like birds. Hana stopped and looked through the window. The 3 cubs from the training were inside a bare room. They huddled together in the corner. The tiny blue-marked female was in the middle, and the 2 others pressed against her sides. They made those chirping sounds over and over. Their bodies shook. Hana's heart broke. She looked around. No one else was in the corridor. Slowly, she walked to the window and knelt down. The cubs noticed her immediately. They stopped chirping and stared at her with wide eyes. Hana did not know what to do. She could not enter the room. She could not take them away. But she could not just walk past them either. She pressed her hand against the transparent barrier. "Hey," she said softly. "It's okay. You're okay." The cubs did not move at first. Then the smallest one, the blue-marked female, stood up on shaky legs. She walked toward the window. She was so tiny. Her claws clicked on the floor. When she reached the barrier, she lifted one small hand and pressed it against the window, where Hana's hand rested on the other side. The chirping sound came again, but quieter now. Softer. Hana smiled. "That's it. You're brave. You're all very brave." The other two cubs came forward. They pressed against the window too. All three of them made those soft sounds. Hana stayed there, kneeling on the cold floor, her hand against the barrier. She did not know how long she stayed. Minutes, maybe longer. She did not know that cameras recorded everything. She did not know that Training Master Krell was watching from a security station, his scarred face showing confusion for the first time in years. She did not know that what she had just done was impossible by Vryn understanding. She only knew that these small beings needed someone to see them, to acknowledge their pain, to tell them they mattered. And so she stayed until the cubs finally settled down, curled together, and fell into exhausted sleep. Then Hana stood, her knees aching, and walked back to her quarters. She did not sleep well that night. The next morning, Hana was called to the council chamber. She had barely finished her breakfast when a guard appeared at her door. The guard was Vryn, silent and serious. Hana followed without asking questions. The council chamber was a large circular room with seats arranged in a ring. Representatives from different species sat watching her. Hana recognized some of them from research. A Chit ambassador clicked its mandibles nervously. A Lumini representative glowed with changing colors. And there, standing rather than sitting, was Training Master Krell. At the center of the ring stood a floating screen showing video footage. Hana's stomach dropped when she recognized what it showed. It was her kneeling by the isolation window with the three cubs pressing against the barrier. "Explain this," a voice said. It came from a Vryn elder with white scales. "Explain what you did to these cubs." Hana swallowed hard. "I did nothing to them. I just stayed with them for a few minutes." "You communicated with isolated trainees," the elder said. "This is against protocol." "I spoke to them through a barrier," Hana replied. "I did not touch them. I did not enter their space." The Lumini representative's glow shifted to blue, which Hana thought meant curiosity. "That is not what concerns us. Look at this data." Another screen appeared, showing medical readings, heart rates, brainwaves, hormone levels. Hana could not read all of it, but she understood graphs. The cubs' stress levels had dropped dramatically during her presence. "This is impossible," Krell said, his voice rough. "Cubs in isolation training remain in heightened stress states. It is part of the process, yet within minutes of your presence their bodies changed." How, Hana thought carefully before answering. "I do not know exactly. Maybe because I was calm, maybe because I showed them gentleness." "Gentleness," the elder repeated the word like it was foreign. Define this term in our context. How could she explain something so basic? Hana tried to find the right words. "On Earth, our young are helpless for many years. They need care, protection, and comfort. We do not make them strong by leaving them alone. We make them strong by supporting them." The Chit ambassador made a clicking sound. "Weakness. This creates weakness, does it?" Hana felt her confidence growing. "Humans have survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. We came from a world you call a death world. Maybe we survived because we took care of each other, especially our young." The room fell silent. The representatives looked at each other. Finally, the Lumini spoke. "I am Dr. Venn. I study how different species think and feel. What you describe is interesting. Most coalition species do not have long childhoods. Our young are born ready or become ready quickly. But some species do have parental care periods. I propose an experiment." "What kind of experiment?" Hana asked. "Tomorrow you will attend another training session. You will observe as before. But if the cubs approach you, you will not be stopped. We will monitor everything. We will see if this happens again or if today was unique." Krell stepped forward. "This is foolish. You will disrupt training. You will corrupt the cubs with soft human ideas. Or, Dr. Ven's glow turned purple. We will learn something new. The coalition exists to share knowledge between species. Are you afraid of knowledge, Training Master? Krell's scales darkened with anger, but he said nothing more. The elder Vryn raised one clawed hand. The experiment is approved. Human Hana, you will return tomorrow. You will do exactly as Dr. Ven instructs. This council will review all data. Dismissed. Hana left the chamber with her heart pounding. She did not know if she had helped or made things worse. That night she could not sleep again. She kept thinking about those 3 small cubs. She wondered if they were still alone in that bare room. She wondered if they remembered her. The next morning came too quickly. Dr. Ven met her outside the training arena. The Lumini floated beside her, glowing a soft green. Be natural, Dr. Ven said. Do not try to make anything happen. Just observe. If the cubs come to you, respond as you would naturally. What if the instructors try to stop them? Hana asked. They have been ordered not to interfere. This makes them very unhappy, but they will obey. They entered the arena together. The viewing platform was crowded now. More council members had come to watch. Guards stood at every door. Cameras pointed at every corner. Below, the cubs entered in their perfect lines. 30 small Vryn walking like tiny soldiers. Hana's eyes found the 3 from yesterday immediately. The blue-marked female and her 2 companions. They looked tired but were back with the pack. The training began. This time it was a hunting simulation. The cubs had to track fake prey animals through obstacles while working as a team. They moved in coordinated groups, communicating with hand signals. Hana stood at the railing, watching. She was supposed to be observing, nothing more. But she could not help noticing when the small blue-marked cub looked up at the viewing platform. Their eyes met for just a second. The cub stopped moving. The other cubs continued around her. The instructors barked commands. But the small cub just stared up at Hana. Then she broke formation. She ran toward the wall below the viewing platform. Tora, return, an instructor shouted. That must be her name, Hana thought. Tora did not return. She climbed the wall using the handholds meant for instructors. 2 more cubs broke formation. Then 4 more. Then 6, control your cubs. Krell roared at the instructors, but the cubs were not listening. 12 of them abandoned the exercise completely. They climbed up to the viewing platform. Guards moved to block them, but Dr. Ven spoke quickly. Let them come. Do not interfere. The cubs poured onto the platform. The council members backed away nervously. But the cubs ignored everyone except Hana. They ran straight to her. Hana knelt down without thinking. Tora reached her first, pressing her small body against Hana's legs. The other cubs crowded around. They made those soft chirping sounds. Some of them climbed onto her lap. Others pressed against her sides and back. One cub wrapped its tail around Hana's arm. Another put its head on her shoulder. They were warm and their scales were smooth. Hana could feel them trembling slightly. It is okay, she whispered. You are all okay. The arena below was chaos. Instructors shouted. The remaining cubs looked confused, not knowing whether to continue or stop. Krell stood frozen, staring at the scene on the platform. Dr. Ven floated closer, sensors extending from its crystalline body. Remarkable. Look at the readings. Hana glanced at the screens. The cubs' bodies were changing again. Stress hormones dropping, different chemicals increasing. Their heart rates slowed. Their breathing became steady. What is happening to them? Hana asked quietly, trying not to disturb the cubs. They are bonding with you, Dr. Ven said with wonder in its voice. Like pack bonding, but different. Their brains think you are family. You are safe. You are home. Tears filled Hana's eyes. She did not try to stop them. She just held these small beings who had chosen her for reasons she did not fully understand. She did not know yet how much this moment would change everything. News of what happened spread through coalition space like fire. Within days, every species knew about the human who made Vryn cubs abandon their training. Some called it fascinating. Others called it dangerous. Hana found herself in the center of a storm. She gave interviews to coalition scientists. She answered questions from military leaders. She explained human child development over and over to beings who had never heard of such concepts. The 12 cubs who had run to her refused to resume normal training. They would not follow instructor commands the same way anymore. They searched for Hana during exercises. When she was not there, they became distressed. When she visited, they performed better than ever before. Training Master Krell was furious. "You have broken them," he told Hana after a particularly difficult session. They were becoming warriors. Now they are confused, weak. "They are not weak," Hana said firmly. "Look at their test scores. They are learning faster than the other cubs. They are learning combat," Krell admitted. "But they are also learning to feel." "Warriors cannot afford feelings. Why not?" Hana challenged. "Humans feel everything. Fear, love, anger, joy. We still fight when we must. Maybe we fight better because we know what we are protecting." Krell had no answer for that. He walked away, his tail lashing in frustration. Earth's ambassador arrived 1 week later. His name was Minho, and he came with a team of human experts. He was a calm man with kind eyes and a diplomatic smile. He met with Hana privately before addressing the Coalition Council. "You have started something big," Minho told her. "Earth is proud of you. But you need to be careful. Not everyone wants change." "I did not mean to start anything," Hana said. "I just could not walk past those cubs without doing something." "That is exactly why you were chosen for this mission," Minho replied. "You have the heart for this work. Now we need to give the Coalition the knowledge to understand it." The council meeting was the largest Hana had seen. Representatives from 40 species attended. Minho presented information about human childhood, about psychology, about how humans raise their young. He showed studies and data. He explained concepts like attachment, trauma, and emotional development. Most species listened with confusion. Some listened with interest. A few listened with suspicion. "You speak of making young beings dependent," said a Vryn general named Thex. "This is weakness. This is how prey species think, not predators." "Respectfully, General," Minho said, "humans are apex predators on Earth. We are at the top of our food chain, yet we are also highly social. We are both things at once. Perhaps true strength includes the ability to care for others." "Words," Thex growled. "Show us proof." "Then let us test it," Dr. Venn suggested. The luminized glow was bright yellow with excitement. "Let us see if this human effect works with other species. We will bring young from different coalition races. We will measure their responses. Science will give us answers, not arguments." The council agreed. Over the next month, Hana worked with young beings from 15 different species. Some were reptilian like the Vryn, some were mammalian, some were so alien that Hana had to learn completely new ways of communication. The results amazed everyone. Species that had any evolutionary history of parental care responded to Hana's gentle approach. Their stress levels decreased. Their learning improved. They sought her presence during difficult tasks. But hive-minded species like the chit showed no response. Their young were born knowing their purpose. They needed no emotional support because they drew strength from the hive mind. "This is extraordinary," Dr. Venn announced to the council. "We have discovered that many coalition species have suppressed natural nurturing instincts. We pushed our young toward independence too quickly. We believed it made them stronger. But humans show us a different path." "A weaker path," General Thex insisted. "Then explain this," Dr. Venn showed new data. The 12 cubs bonded to the human are now outperforming all other cubs in every category. Combat skills, problem solving, team coordination, stress management. They are not weaker. They are stronger. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some representatives demanded that human methods be adopted immediately. Others insisted it was cultural contamination. Still others wanted more testing. Hana sat through hours of debate. She was exhausted. She missed the cubs. She wondered if little Tora was okay. Late one night, she received an unexpected visitor. Training Master Krell appeared at her quarters. He looked uncomfortable. "May I enter?" he asked. Hana stepped aside to let him in. Krell was so large that he had to duck through the doorway. "I have come to ask you something," Krell said. "My daughter was one of the cubs who ran to you." "Tora is my daughter." Hana's eyes widened. "I did not know. No one knows. It is shameful for a training master to have a weak offspring. I was supposed to be harder on her, not softer. But after seeing what you did, I asked myself questions I never asked before." "What questions?" Hana asked gently. "When Tora hatched, she was small, weak. I was told to expect her to fail. But when I held her for the first time, I felt something." Krell's voice became quieter. "I felt what you humans might call love. I was told to ignore such feelings, to let her become strong or fail trying. But now I wonder if I was wrong." Hana felt her heart ache for this fierce warrior who was also a father. "You were not wrong to love her, Krell. Love does not make you weak. It makes you fight harder. The other cubs who bonded to you, their parents feel the same confusion. We were raised one way. We raised our young the same way. But now we see a different possibility. Krell looked at her with his yellow eyes. Teach me, teach us. Show us how humans do this. You want to learn human parenting? Hana could barely believe it. I want to learn how to be what my daughter needs. If that means learning from humans, then yes. Over the following weeks, something unprecedented happened. Vryn parents began meeting with Hana and the other human specialists who had arrived. They asked questions about emotions, about comfort, about praise and encouragement. They practiced speaking gently to their young. They learned about play and rest and patience. It was awkward at first. Vryn were not built for gentleness. Their voices were harsh, their claws sharp, their instincts aggressive. But they tried, and slowly they improved. The cubs noticed the changes in their parents. They responded with joy and better performance. The success stories multiplied, but not everyone was happy. General Thex and his supporters grew more vocal in their opposition. They called the human influence a corruption of traditional values. They warned that the coalition would become weak if this continued. Hana knew a confrontation was coming. She could feel it building like a storm on the horizon. One evening, as she walked through the training facility, she found all 12 of her bonded cubs waiting for her in the common area. They had arranged cushions in a circle. Little Tora stepped forward. We made this for you, Tora said in careful human language. She held out a small object woven from colored fibers. It is called a bond gift. It means family. Hana took the gift with trembling hands. It was a bracelet, made from materials the cubs must have gathered from around the facility. Each color represented one of the cubs. They had worked together to create it. Thank you, Hana whispered. She put it on her wrist. I will keep this always. The cubs chirped happily and crowded around her. As Hana sat with them, telling stories about Earth and listening to their small problems and victories, she realized something important. This was not just about training methods or combat efficiency. This was about showing the galaxy that there were different kinds of strength, that caring for others was not weakness, that love could exist alongside courage. The storm was coming, but looking at these cubs, seeing their bright eyes and hearing their soft sounds of contentment, Hana knew the struggle would be worth it. Whatever happened next, these children would grow up knowing they were valued for more than just their ability to fight, and that was a revolution worth having. The challenge came on a cold morning. General Thex called an emergency session of the Coalition Military Council. He demanded that all human specialists be removed from training facilities immediately. They are corrupting the next generation of Coalition warriors, Thex declared. We have data showing decreased aggression, increased hesitation in combat scenarios, and emotional responses that compromise tactical thinking. Hana sat in the audience with Minho and the other human specialists. Dr. Ven floated nearby, sensors pulsing with agitation. General Thex, your data is selective, Dr. Ven challenged. You show only the measurements that support your view. The complete data shows improved performance in almost every category. Improved performance in peacetime exercises, Thex countered. But war is not a peacetime exercise. When real combat comes, these cubs will fail. They will die. And their weakness will cost Coalition lives. Krell stood up from his seat. Many heads turned. As a training master, his opinion carried weight. I must speak, he said. Training Master Krell, Thex acknowledged. Do you support removing the humans? No, Krell said. The word hung in the air. I opposed the humans at first. I believed as you do, General. But I have watched these cubs every day. I have tested them myself. They are not weak. Your daughter is one of these cubs, Thex pointed out. You are biased. Yes, my daughter is one of them, Krell agreed. And I am biased. I am biased by facts and results. The bonded cubs score higher in combat trials, strategy tests, and team coordination. They learn faster. They adapt better. The only thing they show less of is blind obedience. Exactly my point, Thex said. Warriors must obey without question. Must they? Krell's voice was hard. I have fought in 3 wars, General. I have seen battles won and lost. The warriors who survived were not the ones who blindly obeyed. They were the ones who could think, adapt, and protect their squad. These cubs are learning to do all of that. Thex's scales darkened with anger. You have been corrupted by the humans as well. Before Krell could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed. Everyone in the chamber looked around in confusion. A guard rushed in. "We have a situation in Training Arena 3. There has been an accident." The council members moved quickly. Hana followed, her heart pounding. What had happened? Arena 3 was in chaos when they arrived. Instructors were trying to control a panicked group of cubs. A support beam had collapsed during an exercise, trapping 2 cubs beneath debris. The other cubs were crying out, frightened and upset. "Get them back," an instructor was shouting. "Clear the area." But the cubs would not move away. They clustered around the debris, trying to help their trapped companions. Their distress calls echoed in the arena. Hana scanned the crowd and realized none of the 12 bonded cubs were present. This was a different training group. These cubs had been raised the traditional way. Rescue workers were trying to reach the trapped cubs, but the other cubs kept getting in the way. They were terrified and could not calm down enough to follow commands. "Tranquilize them," an instructor ordered. "No," Hana said, stepping forward. "Let me try." "You have no authority here," Thex said. "But she has a method that might work," Dr. Venn added. "What harm can it cause to try?" The instructors looked at each other uncertainly. Finally, one nodded. "Make it quick." Hana walked toward the panicked cub slowly. She kept her movements calm and her voice soft. "Hey, look at me. I know you are scared. Your friends are stuck, but the adults need space to help them. Can you come over here with me?" The cubs stopped crying out. They looked at her with wide, frightened eyes. "That's good. You are doing so well. Being scared is okay, but we need to be brave now for your friends. Can you be brave with me?" One cub took a step toward her. Then another. Slowly, the group moved away from the debris. Hana knelt down and let them cluster around her. She spoke quietly, reassuring them while rescue workers rushed in to free the trapped cubs. It took 10 minutes to remove the debris. Both trapped cubs were injured but alive. Medical teams took them away quickly. The other cubs were still clinging to Hana, their breathing gradually slowing to normal. The council members watched in silence. Even Thex said nothing. That evening, a formal petition was submitted to the High Coalition Council. It was signed by over 200 Vryn parents, including many high-ranking military officers. They requested that human developmental methods be officially recognized and implemented across all Coalition youth training programs. "The numbers speak," Minho told the council at the emergency session. "Parents are seeing the difference. Yes, change is difficult. Yes, it challenges traditions. But is tradition more important than the well-being and effectiveness of your young?" "You speak of well-being," a council member said. "But what of identity? What of our culture? If we raise our young like humans, do we not become less of what we are?" "No," Krell said, standing again. "We become more. I'm still Vryn. I'm still a warrior. But I am also a father who can express love for his daughter. These things do not oppose each other. They strengthen each other." A new voice spoke from the back of the chamber. "I wish to testify." It was a young Vryn female, nearly adult-sized. She walked forward with confidence. "I am Sela," she said. "I was trained 10 years ago in the traditional way. I am now a decorated combat veteran. I have killed enemy soldiers. I have survived 3 campaigns, and I am broken inside." The chamber was silent. Sela continued. "I cannot sleep without medication. I cannot form bonds with my squad. I cannot feel joy or safety. The training made me an effective killer, but it also damaged something in my mind that cannot be repaired. When I look at these cubs being taught the human way, I do not see weakness. I see what I could have been if someone had shown me that strength and emotion could exist together." Tears ran down Sela's face. In all of Vryn history, no warrior had ever cried in public before. It was shocking. It was revolutionary. "I am tired of being broken," Sela said. "Please do not break the next generation the same way." She left the chamber. The council members looked at each other with uncertainty and discomfort. Dr. Venn spoke into the silence. "I have data from multiple species now. 23 coalition races have allowed human specialists to work with their young. Of those, 19 show significant positive results. The benefits include better mental health, improved learning, stronger social bonds, and yes, better combat performance. The science supports this change, but at what cost?" Thex asked, and his voice was quieter now. "At what cost to who we are? Maybe the cost of staying the same is higher," Hana said. She stood up, feeling bold. "General Thex, you fear change. I understand, but your species is suffering. warrior after warrior like Sella, broken by training that values toughness over health. Is that really what you want? Is that really strength? Thex was silent for a long moment. Then he said something unexpected. I had a son. He failed early training. He was removed from the warrior path. He took his own life shortly after. He was 7 years old. The entire chamber seemed to hold its breath. I told myself he was weak, Thex continued, that it was better he was identified early before he could fail in real combat and cost other lives. But sometimes, late at night, I wonder if he was truly weak or if we failed him. Hana felt tears in her own eyes now. I am sorry for your loss, General. Do not be sorry, Thex said. Be right. Prove to me that this human way would have saved him. Prove that we can change without losing ourselves. I can try, Hana promised. We can all try together. The council voted that night. By a narrow margin, they approved a 5-year pilot program. Human developmental specialists would be placed in coalition training facilities across 36 worlds. Results would be monitored carefully. At the end of 5 years, the program would be evaluated. It was not a complete victory, but it was a beginning. As Hana left the chamber, little Tora was waiting for her with the other bonded cubs. They had been in a side room listening. Did we win? Tora asked. Yes, Hana said, picking up the small cub. We won. But she knew the real work was just beginning. 5 years passed like a river, slow at first, then rushing faster toward the sea of change. Hana stood in the same training arena where everything had begun, but it looked different now. The walls were painted with bright colors. One section had cushions and rest areas. Another had learning stations with games and puzzles. The obstacle courses remained, but they had been redesigned with safety features and age-appropriate challenges. The cubs entering the arena today walked differently than those first cubs 5 years ago. They still moved in formation, but they talked to each other quietly. They smiled. Some held hands with their training partners. It is strange to see, Krell said beside her. He was grayer now, with new scars from battles fought while the cubs were learning. But it is also right. You have done amazing work, Hana told him. The other training masters look to you as an example. Krell made a sound that was almost a laugh. Some do. Others still call me corrupted. But my results speak louder than their complaints. The cubs began their exercise, a complex team challenge requiring strategy, communication, and combat skills. Hana watched with pride as they worked together. When one cub struggled with a climbing wall, 2 others immediately helped. When a puzzle required thought, they gathered to solve it as a group instead of competing individually. Look at them, Hana said. They are still warriors. But they are also friends, family. Yes, Krell agreed. They will be better soldiers than my generation. Not despite their emotions, but because of them. They know what they fight for. A young Vryn female approached them. She was tall now, nearly adult height, with blue markings on her scales. Tora had grown so much. Instructor Hana, Tora said formally. The graduation ceremony will begin in 1 hour. The council requests your presence on the platform. I will be there, Hana said. Then, dropping formality, she added, Are you nervous? Tora's face broke into a smile. Very nervous, but also excited. We are the first class to graduate under the new training system. We carry responsibility for all the cubs who will come after us. You will do wonderfully, Hana assured her. You always have. After Tora left to prepare, Hana walked through the facility with Krell. So much had changed. The Interspecies Youth Development Institute on Earth now trained hundreds of humans for positions across Coalition space. Other humans worked here on Vexar Prime and on dozens of other worlds. Yuna, the child psychologist, ran a counseling center for cubs struggling with trauma or learning difficulties. Tay, the educator, had developed new teaching methods that combined coalition efficiency with human creativity. Nari led advanced training for teenage warriors, showing them that strength and kindness were not enemies. Wu specialized in helping adult soldiers heal from battlefield trauma, teaching them the emotional processing tools they had never learned as cubs. The humans had found their place in the coalition. Not as warriors themselves, though some humans did serve in military roles. Not as the most advanced technologists, though humans contributed to science. They found their place as healers of the heart, teachers of balance, bridges between the coldness of survival and the warmth of living. The graduation ceremony was held in the great arena. witnessed by thousands. Cubs from 30 coalition species graduated that day. The first generation raised with the hybrid approach, blending traditional values with emotional intelligence. Hana sat on the platform with other dignitaries. Ambassador Minnow was beside her. Dr. Ven floated nearby, glowing with pride. Even General Thex attended, sitting quietly in the audience. One by one, the graduates received their honors. When Tora's name was called, the arena erupted in cheers. She had scored highest in her class across all categories: combat, strategy, leadership, and the new category added 5 years ago: social-emotional competency. Tora approached the platform to receive her marks of achievement. But before the elder could present them, she turned to face the audience. "I wish to speak," Tora said. The elder nodded permission. Public speaking was now encouraged, another change from the old ways. 5 years ago, Tora began, her voice clear and strong. "I was a failure. I could not complete the obstacle course. I was isolated with 2 other cubs. I was frightened and alone. I thought my life as a warrior was over." The arena was completely silent. Thousands of beings listened. Then a human walked into training. She did not know our ways. She did not understand our culture. But she understood something more important. She understood that young beings, no matter what species, need more than harsh commands. We need kindness too. Tora looked at Hana. Instructor Hana knelt by my isolation chamber. She placed her hand on the barrier. She spoke gentle words. That moment changed my life. It changed all of our lives. She gestured to the other 11 cubs who had bonded with Hana that first day. They all stood in the crowd. We learned to be warriors, but we also learned to be people. We learned that strength includes vulnerability, that courage includes admitting fear, that the best warriors are not those who feel nothing, but those who feel everything and choose to protect others anyway. Tora performed a traditional Vryn honor ritual, but then she added something new. She approached Hana and wrapped her tail around Hana's arm, a gesture of chosen family. "Thank you," Tora said simply, "for seeing us, for staying with us, for teaching the galaxy that there are many ways to be strong." Hana embraced her, tears flowing freely. The audience watched this display of emotion, something that would have been shameful 5 years ago. Now many in the crowd were crying too, including Vryn warriors who had fought in wars. After the ceremony, there was a celebration. Cubs mixed with parents, instructors, and council members. Food from many worlds filled tables. Music played, a fusion of different species traditions. Hana found herself approached by parents she had never met. They thanked her for what she had started. They told her stories of their cubs thriving under the new methods. Some shared painful memories of older offspring who had failed under the old system. Lives lost to a culture that valued toughness above all else. General Thex appeared before her. He looked older, worn by years of war and guilt. "I wanted to tell you," he said quietly, "that I have begun working with Wu, the human trauma specialist. He is helping me process the loss of my son. For the first time in years, I can think of my son without only feeling shame and failure." "I am glad," Hana said sincerely. "You deserve healing too. I opposed you," Thex reminded her. "I called you weak. I tried to stop this program." "You were protecting what you knew," Hana said. "Change is frightening. I understand. What matters is that you are here now, learning and growing with the rest of us." Thex nodded slowly. Then he did something unprecedented. He bowed to her, a gesture of deep respect among his people. As the celebration continued into the night, Hana stepped outside for fresh air. The stars of Vexar Prime were beautiful, so different from Earth's sky. She thought about how far she had come, how much had changed. She heard footsteps behind her. Tora and the other 11 bonded cubs approached together. "We have something to tell you," Tora said. "We have all been accepted into the Coalition Officers Academy. We will train to become military leaders." "That's wonderful," Hana said. "But more than that," another cub added. "We have decided to specialize in youth development and training. We want to become instructors like you and Training Master Krell. We want to teach the next generation." Hana felt her heart swell with pride and joy. "You will be amazing instructors." "We want to spread this across the galaxy," Tora said. "Every coalition species that has young who need care. We want to make sure no cub ever has to feel alone and scared in an isolation chamber. We want to make sure every cub knows they are valued for who they are, not just what they can do." You will change worlds, Hana told them. You already have. The cubs gathered around her one last time like they had done so many times over the years. They made those soft chirping sounds now mixed with purrs and contented rumbles. They were not scared cubs anymore. They were strong young warriors ready to face the galaxy. But they would face it knowing that strength comes in many forms, that love is not weakness, that caring for others is the highest form of courage. Years later, when Hana was old and gray, she would return to Vexar Prime for one last visit. The academy would be transformed beyond recognition. Cubs of every species learning together, playing together, supporting each other. Instructors who taught combat and kindness in equal measure. Graduation ceremonies where young warriors spoke openly about emotions and connections. And everywhere, in every training facility across Coalition space, there would be a memorial, a simple statue of a human woman kneeling, her hand outstretched, cubs of stone pressing against her, seeking comfort and finding strength. The plaque would read, "She walked into training and taught us that the greatest warriors are those who know how to care." Humanity had brought many things to the Coalition: technology, art, new perspectives on war and peace. But the greatest gift was this: the understanding that intelligence includes emotional intelligence, that civilization includes compassion, that the strong can be gentle without becoming weak. The cubs had run to her that first day because some part of them, some ancient instinct, recognized what humans offered: safety, understanding, the knowledge that they were more than tools or weapons. They were beings deserving of love. And in teaching the galaxy that lesson, humanity found its true purpose among the stars, not as conquerors or even allies, but as teachers of the heart, showing the universe that the hardest thing to do and the bravest is to care deeply in a cold and dangerous cosmos. Tora would eventually become commandant of the entire Coalition training system. Under her leadership, the warrior culture would be transformed permanently. Not weakened, as the old guard had feared, but strengthened by balance. And when beings asked her how this transformation began, she would always tell the same story. About a human who walked into training, about cubs who jumped from the pack and ran to her, about the moment everything changed. Because sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can reshape entire civilizations. Sometimes a gentle hand extended to a frightened child can alter the course of galactic history. And sometimes the truest strength is found not in standing tall and hard, but in kneeling down and being soft. This was humanity's gift to the stars, and the stars would never be the same. The instructors released predator cubs in the lecture hall. They sat calmly at humans' feet. Instead, Part 1 Jinwoo Park sat in the back row of the lecture hall and tried not to think about how far from home he was. Earth was 3 galaxy jumps away. The academy building around him was made of materials he could not name. The other students in the room were not human. Most of them were not even close to human. The lecture hall could hold 500 students. Today it was half full. Jinwoo counted at least 15 different species in the room. The largest group was the Vrel. They looked like giant mantis insects with 4 arms and large compound eyes. Their skin had a green shine to it. When they talked to each other, they made clicking sounds with their mandibles. Jinwoo was one of only 3 humans at the entire academy. The school had 3,000 students from 47 different species. Being human here meant being rare. It also meant being weak, at least in the eyes of most other species. The other 2 humans were his friends. Hana Choi studied alien medicine in a different building. Minhyo Kang worked with star engines and hardly ever came to the main campus. Jinwoo was alone in his classes most days. He did not mind too much. He was here to learn. Earth had joined the Galactic Union only 30 years ago. Humans were still new to space. Getting accepted to the Interstellar Xenobiology Academy was a huge honor. His parents had been so proud. The professor entered the room and everyone became quiet. Professor Thexal was a Vrel, like most of the students. He was tall, nearly 3 meters high when he stood up straight. His 4 arms moved constantly as he walked. He had been teaching at the academy for 40 years, which was a long time even for Vrel. "Good morning," the professor said. His voice came through a translator device, turning his clicking speech into standard galactic common. "Today we begin practical examinations for advanced predator behavior." Several Vrel students clicked their mandibles together. It was how they showed excitement. Jinwoo just listened. Professor Thexal touched a control panel and a hologram appeared above his desk. It showed a small creature that looked somewhat like a cat, but wrong. It had 6 legs instead of 4. Its fur was dark blue, almost black. Its eyes glowed yellow. When it opened its mouth in the hologram, Jinwoo could see rows of very sharp teeth. "This is a Raker cub," the professor explained. Raker are apex predators from the planet Raker Prime. A full-grown Raker can kill an armored Vrel warrior. The cubs are smaller but still very dangerous. They have claws that can cut through metal. Their bite contains venom. They are naturally aggressive and territorial. Jinwoo wrote notes in his data pad. Around him, other students did the same. The Vrel students looked confident. They had been training for this all semester. The Thernax students, who wore natural armor on their bodies, looked ready. Even the single Kickstar student who was made of living crystal seemed calm. "Each of you will face a Raker cub today," Professor Thexall continued. "You will demonstrate the 5-point submission technique. This includes proper posture, pheromone projection, sonic assertion, territorial marking, and if needed, pain compliance tools. You have all learned these techniques. Now you will prove you can use them." The professor's compound eyes looked around the room. They paused on Jinwoo for a moment. Jinwoo thought he saw doubt there, but he could not be sure. Reading Vrel expressions was difficult. "Failure means you must take remedial courses," the professor said. "Injury means you were not paying attention. Death means you should have chosen a different career." Some students made sounds that might have been laughter. Jinwoo was not sure if the professor was joking or not. The back doors of the lecture hall opened. Teaching assistants pushed in several large metal containers on hover platforms. The containers had thick, transparent walls. Inside each container, Jinwoo could see a Raker cub moving around. Even through the walls, he could hear them making low growling sounds. The growls made something in Jinwoo's stomach feel tight. It was not quite fear. It was the feeling of standing near something dangerous. His body was reacting before his mind fully understood. Several other students shifted in their seats. The sound was affecting them too. "The cubs have been prepared according to Academy standards," Professor Thexall said.
They are agitated but healthy.
"They have not been harmed. We will begin testing in order of seating. First row, please prepare." A Vrel student in the front stood up. He walked to a marked circle in the open space at the front of the room. The circle was about 5 meters across. It was painted on the floor with bright yellow lines. The student carried a belt with tools attached to it. Jinwoo recognized them from class. There was a chemical spray for pheromone projection, a sonic emitter for the loud assertion sound, small flags for territorial marking, and a neural prod, which was like a shock stick for pain compliance if everything else failed. "Release cub number 1, Professor Thexall ordered. A teaching assistant touched a control. One of the containers opened. The Raker cub inside jumped out immediately. It was fast, much faster than Jinwoo expected. It landed in the circle and looked around with its glowing yellow eyes. The Vrel student did not wait. He activated his chemical spray, releasing a cloud of pheromones. He pressed the sonic emitter. A loud, low sound filled the room. He planted the territorial flags in 3 positions around himself. The Raker cub snarled. It started to circle the student. Its 6 legs moved in a strange rhythm. The student kept his posture straight, holding the neural prod ready but not threatening. For almost a minute, the cub circled. Then slowly it lowered its body. Its glowing eyes dimmed slightly. It backed away and sat down at the edge of the circle. It was not friendly, but it was no longer aggressive. It had submitted. 47 seconds, Professor Thexall announced. Acceptable. Next student. The cub was guided back into its container. Another student went to the circle. Another cub was released. The pattern continued. Most students succeeded. Their times ranged from 32 seconds to over a minute. One Thernax student got scratched across his armor, but his thick natural shell protected him. He still completed the technique successfully. Jinwoo watched and learned. He saw how each student moved. He saw how the cubs reacted. He noticed small things. The way the cubs tilted their heads before attacking. The way their ears went flat when they were truly angry. The way their tails curved when they were just testing boundaries. Finally, it was his turn. Professor Thexall called his name. Park Jinwoo. The Vrel students in the room clicked their mandibles. Some were curious. Some seemed amused. Humans were known as a soft species. No claws, no armor. No venom. Just soft skin and average strength. Many species wondered how humans had survived on their own planet at all. Jinwoo stood up. He walked down the aisle toward the circle. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. He had practiced this many times in simulation. He knew what to do. He reached the circle and stepped inside. Professor Thexal watched him carefully. "You may begin when ready," the professor said. Jinwoo nodded. He reached for the tool belt a teaching assistant offered him. But then he paused. He looked at the containers where the cubs waited. Something in his mind, something instinctive, told him the tools were wrong. He put the belt down outside the circle. Several students made surprised sounds. Professor Thexal's antennae twitched. "Park Jinwoo, the tools are required for your safety." "I understand, Professor," Jinwoo said quietly. "But I would like to try without them first." The professor was silent for a moment. Then he gestured to the teaching assistant. "Very well. Please cub number 7. The container opened. The ray core that came out was bigger than the others. It had scars on its face from fighting. Its eyes glowed brighter. It saw Jinwoo immediately and made a sound that was almost a scream. Then it charged straight at him, claws extended and fangs bared. The entire room held its breath.